Mr. Mayor, a question for Gary.
Walter?
I think I heard what you said, but I'm not sure it's what you meant. You said stay with the rate structure proposed by the rates study.
Yes.
It did not anticipate single stream.
Precisely.
What you meant, I think, was stay with the study recommendation plus charging for the single stream change.
Yes. And I would, because we have the rate study increases, or the rate increases that were called out, as well as the anticipated costs that Tim's called out on the single stream. I would also note to the council that we are 20 years into the volume-based system, just about 20 years. We have a solid waste processing facility that's aging. There's been discussion about looking for alternatives for solid waste. That's precisely what the Solid Waste Development Fund is intended to do. The contingency that is maintained every year, I understand that we're not anticipating tapping that a huge amount this year because we don't have spending the time on single stream recycling. But in the future, we will continue to look at different programs as the public desires and the council directs. So again, I'm just asking for caution at this point.
Mr. Mayor, to continue to follow up, if I may.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. But if we move what's currently, some of what we currently call solid, or is solid waste, over to the recycling because of the ease of doing so, that reduces our hauling cost. We pay. Well, it doesn't reduce tipping. It reduces our cost of hauling. It reduces what we pay by the ton to put in the landfill in Oregon. So we have some cost savings there. I'm not sure how it balances, and I would have to probably ask the LSI people, is recycling with glass not included, which is what we're talking about, is that is that a small revenue source or a small or large expense to us? And I don't know the answer to that.
If I can recount a little bit, when we began this process, we set up a system at the recycling center that allowed LSI to market, or Moscow Recycling, a division of LSI, to market the commodities, and that profit they could use. We paid a per ton tipping fee, but none of it was collected at the time. LSI was free to market it, and then they could keep the profits off that. Then we started the curbside recycling. Curbside recycling became a handling fee, and we absorbed that entirely in the solid waste program at the time. With single stream recycling, as Tim's indicated and reported back to committee, all of this goes in a container. It's then baled and sent up to a MRF, Municipal Recovery Facility? Material Recovery Facility, and there is an expense. So you will be paying, the city will be paying LSI for the collection and maintenance of this program. It will then be shipped to the MRF, and the MRF will charge a fee for processing that commodity. Now, whether it yields any ancillary or attendant profits, I can't say. But I will tell you that at least the experience that I've been informed about, there's not a lot of money to be made back to the collection.
Gary, wasn't that your point about waiting for a year to see what's going to happen, how the thing will shake out? Isn't that the point?
And commodities, and I'll remind the council, back in the day when we kept mixed waste paper. At one point, mixed waste paper was accepted at the recycling center, and LSI could market it and could make some money on it. So we began accepting it at the recycling center. That was a really short-lived situation. Within 6 months or a year, bottom fell out of the market. It became a deficit, but it became one of those things that our community got so used to bringing mixed waste paper in that we continued to offer that service in spite of the fact that you couldn't make any money on it. So again, it takes a while to kind of ride this out and see how things balance out.
Wayne, you had a
I did, and I appreciate everything that Gary said, because that's exactly what I'm sitting here thinking right now. There's a lot of intangibles. There's a lot of unknowns because this system has not been put into place. $1.72 a month is... is not very much money, and I'm almost sitting here thinking that the discussion of trying to absorb that is more of a philosophical discussion than it is a monetary discussion. I certainly would not like to see us try to cut this 76 cents and then have another rate study and spend thousands of dollars for these studies that we do when we already have a good study already in place that seems to be working all right. We haven't had to raise our solid waste rates in 3 years. So I really would like to see this move forward without a whole lot more discussion about trying to absorb this $1.72.
John?
Much as I hate to, Wayne, I agree with you.
I know you hate that, John.
And without, beating a dead horse, the amount of money that we're talking about between 150 and 75 or 76, or even 202, 220, it's not a material amount of money to an individual over a year's period of time. However, what it does is it does keep the amount of our capital projects moving in the right direction. And as Gary said, if coming on to next year, a year and a half later, into the future, if it turns out that we missed, I would much rather miss on the side of having to cut rates than to miss on the side of having to call a meeting like this and tell everybody, well, in addition to the 172, 150, 220, we're going to have to throw another dollar on it. And so that would be my reasons for supporting the number 2 option as it stands.
Well, that being said, I'm once again, now that I have the floor, I'm going to make a motion that this council approve option number 2 of the request for proposal response for modification of the services for single-stream recycling, and we advise staff to move forward expeditiously.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion by Wayne and a second by Art to approve option number 2 as was presented by staff.
Can I have a clarification on that?
And you got
With the rate as proposed.
Dan, you had something you wanted to,
Yeah,
question you wanted to ask.
So this 172, that doesn't matter what size cart a person gets, or is that an average?
The 172, if the city absorbs those one-time costs, actually becomes 152. So the rates that I showed you on that last slide
Don't want to absorb.
You might not want to.
include a 3% collection increase and $1.52 for single stream.
But basically,
Everybody will pay the same price. no matter
basically
what
that's
size
just
cart.
your preference in size, what you're storing. It's not.
It doesn't change the price.
Doesn't change the
Doesn't
cost.
change your cost.
Nope.
And whether or not you participate doesn't change your cost.
Doesn't change your cost either, right?
Wait, Art, and then I'll go to Walter.
Yeah, I think for the $1.72 versus the city absorbing the startup costs and lowering it to $1.50, I would much rather preserve the capital that's there with the idea that a rainy day is going to be coming, and we're going to want to expand the recycle center, we're going to want to move the recycle center, and we're going to need the money to do it. And so that, and with the contingency fund, the contingency is a contingency. It happens for emergencies. How do you foresee that? I would just say $1.72 versus $1.50, less than 25 cents a month, is not going to make a bucket of difference anywhere, and I'd just prefer to go ahead for my own self with the $1.72 and wait and see how things work out. We can come back and visit it again in a year after we have better
And Art,
data.
that's what the motion said.
Yep.
That's how the motion read.
And that's why I'm saying it on top of, because I believe that articulating why we're doing what we're doing is kind of important for everybody out there. So I'm recapitulating
Okay.
for my own sake.
Walter had something he wanted to, yeah.
Wayne made a comment, if I heard him correctly, that we have a rate study and it's working well. The rate study is not for the system we're currently running. It is for a non-solid waste tote. It is for a non-single stream recycle system. That's not to say, it was a good study I would believe it's a good study at the time because it was based upon what we were doing at the time. So we really don't know until we run the new solid waste tote system and where it appears we're headed for single stream recycling. We really don't know where we stand on any of this.
And that's what Gary's point was.
I can agree with Gary. It's okay.
It happens sometimes.
I happen to agree with Walter on that.
Yeah, we sometimes agree. I would still like to absorb the 182,500. I hate to flip to this and pass the entire cost straight through to the consumer.
Then you're gonna have to
I would offer an amended motion, Mr. Mayor, that we absorb the 182,500 one-time cost, which would reduce the per month on the single-stream recycling to 152, and we go with option 2 as the previous motion recommended, and that staff be directed to proceed with implementing the system.
I'd second Walter's amendment because, any time we can help out is something that I'm in favor of. I mean, I would like to absorb it all, but
Doesn't look like we
it
can.
doesn't look like we can. I mean, I was hoping it was there. I hope we find out it's there later on down the road. Like you said, we're only, a year and a half into the roll carts, and I think that we're seeing great success. We're not getting near the out of compliance stuff going on out there where we've got extra bags stacked around and on top of. The software seems to be working and the cameras on the truck seem to be working, so I'm hoping that'll help us make this work. We're going to reduce what we have to, our tonnage, so maybe this will all absorb later on down the road.
Okay, the amendment that Walter presented and Dan seconded was to absorb the cost of the 182.5, which would drop proposal number 2 down to a monthly rate of 152. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So we vote on amendment first.
Yes, sir.
John?
No. No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh, get you what you get to do.
We're having fun now.
Not a problem. I'm going to go no with it. And the reason for it is we don't know where we're going to head with this thing. We can revisit this thing a year and a half down the road, so the amendment dies, so now we will vote for the motion.
Yep.
No, wait a minute.
Is how to is read. Walter, we'll start with you.
The mayor voted nay.
Does the clerk have a question?
Excuse me, did you vote nay, Your Honor?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Wasn't that clear?
It was.
I'm sure it was. We
Okay.
were just busy
All right.
yakking
Was to
over
You
it.
guys
I
were
can't
talking
hear.
when we were doing important business up here. Okay, now we're going to go back to the main motion that was presented by Wayne and was seconded by Art to go with number 2 as it was proposed. And I will start with Walter.
Aye.
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 Okay, so that passes 6-0. So we're going to go with response option number 2 with the 65, 95 gallon carts with what staff presented.